This is Keith Helwig from Cops Corrections Videos. If you like my videos, please hit the subscribe button. Today, I'd like to talk about the 12 things I feel are necessary to be a good officer. Now, once again, I'm using the term officer as a generic term for police officers and correctional officers. There are times I will refer to specifics for each of those professions, but these are 12 things that I think are necessary. One is training. I know in a lot of states, officers are simply put on the street after a couple weeks OJT. They don't have to attend a formal academy for up to a year. As far as I'm concerned, that's not a good idea. I know in Wisconsin, there are small departments that do that, but the majority of departments in Wisconsin, you do have to attend the Law Enforcement Standards Board Training Academy prior to placement as a police officer. You also have to have 60 college credits. Now, to be a correctional officer for the state, you're required to attend the State Corrections Training Academy prior to going and working in any institution. Once again, the counties are a little bit behind on this because some of the counties will hire an officer, they'll give them 2 or 3 weeks on the job training, and they'll work in a facility for a year before they go to an academy. Now, some people use the argument, well, that helps us weed out the bad people. My argument is you're setting people up for failure if they're not trained properly. So I think training is one of the most important things you can do to be a successful police officer, correctional officer. Another one is adaptability. You know, in all the years that I've worked in corrections and in police work, I've seen a lot change. In corrections, just the way things have changed as far as security, as far as what inmates are allowed to do, what they're not allowed to do, rules, regulations. Police work. When I started as a cop back in '95, not everybody wore vests. You know, it was recommended, but not everybody wore them. Now, I don't know a cop that goes out there without a vest. We didn't have computers in the cars. I remember the first mobile telephone I had in one of my police cars. It was about the size of a standard desk phone, and we only were allowed 15 minutes of talk on it a month, so it was basically for emergency purposes. You have to be adaptable. You know, I used to work with an individual, we called her Captain Used to Do. The reason we called her Captain Used to Do was because anytime something would change, she'd say, well, this is what we used to do. Well, maybe that's what you used to do, but that's not what you do now. You need to be adaptable. You need to be able to change. Now you need to be observant. You know, this is for correctional officers, police officers, probation officers, parole agents. You have to be observant. You have to observe what other officers are doing. That's a good way to learn, is by observing what other officers are doing. You know, you can learn as much from a bad officer as you can a good officer, if you know that what they're doing is bad. You need to watch the inmates. You need to keep an eye on them. You need to be aware, situational awareness. You need to be aware of what's going on around you. As a police officer, you need to watch the public. I know I've been in situations where I've had to break up bar fights, and you have to keep an eye on the people around you to make sure nobody else is going to join in. I have a couple stories I could tell about that, but that's not my purpose for being here. You have to be diligent. By being diligent, that means you do your rounds. You follow the policies and procedures. You follow the rules and regulations. You do your job. You enforce the laws. You know, one of the things that concerns me is when people become too complacent. Complacency leads to injury. Complacency leads to death. Then there's the old dictum, be nice until it's time not to be nice, then be nice again. If you have to take down an inmate, it's not a nice thing to do. But there's no reason to continue any verbal abuse, any physical abuse, anything else after that happens. We saw the situation with the officer kneeling on the perpetrator's neck for 9 minutes, ultimately killing him. There was no reason for that, none at all. You know, the inmate, or that individual, was restrained. There was no reason for that. You need to be nice until it's time not to be, then be nice again. And by being nice, I don't mean you kiss their butt. I don't mean you go out and buy them a meal. I mean you treat them with basic human dignity. Another one is to know your role. As a correctional officer, your job is for security. Your job is for the protection of inmates, is for protection of the public, is for the safety and security of your other fellow staff members. It's not your job to punish inmates. Inmates are in prison as punishment, not for punishment. If you think it's your job to punish an inmate because you're an officer, you're in the wrong profession. A big one I have, inmates are not your friend. Inmates are not your friend. I'm repeating that because that is important. You should never be telling inmates any personal details about yourself, your family, or about any other officers and their personal details and their family. Another one is respect each other. When I was a captain, there were officers I didn't like, but I still respected them. I still respected the job they did. You need to respect each other. Never do anything that you wouldn't tell your mother, your spouse, your supervisor. Never do anything that's going to make you look in the mirror and not respect the person looking back at you. Be firm, fair, and consistent. Now we hear this all the time. What is firm, fair, and consistent? Firm is enforcing the rules. Fair is enforcing the rules fairly. If you're going to make one inmate turn his radio down, make all the inmates turn their radio down. If you're going to give one person a speeding ticket for going 15 over, give every person going 15 over a speeding ticket. That's being firm, that's being fair, and that's being consistent. Treat everybody the same. Treat all inmates the same. Treat all offenders on the street the same. You know, different circumstances, of course, dictate the way you're going to initially treat them. But what I'm saying by being firm, fair, and consistent is that you enforce the rules equally across the lines, regardless of race, religion, color, or creed. Number 11 is common sense. Utilize common sense. If you walk into a day room area and inmates are smoking dope, take down names. See who's doing it. Do UAs. Don't rush in there like gangbusters when you're outnumbered. Same thing on the streets. I had a ride along with me once and it was raining and a car went by us at about 85 miles an hour followed by another string of cars. The guy that was riding along with me asked me if I was going to turn around and chase him, and I told him no, because the danger of me chasing him down in the rain created a greater danger than him going. Use common sense. And lastly, respect yourself. Respect your job, respect your position, respect what you do. Don't tell people, I'm just a prison guard, or I'm just a cop. You have a job that's respectable, you need to respect yourself. Until next time, this is Keith Helligan, Cops Corrections Videos. Stay safe and watch your back.